music producers been arrested and charged with streaming fraud for creating thousands of AI generated songs. And I'm like,
I didn't know anybody that actually went to jail, but I knew that it was threatened, like there were severe penalties. What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Music Entrepreneur Club 2.0. This is where we have some of the most candid conversations to help you in your independent music journey. I am one of your hosts, Damien Ritter. I'm here with DJ Payne One and Erinn Knight. How are you guys doing this morning?
Yeah, you're hyped for not having slept very much.
All right, we got to turn it up. Music Entrepreneur Club 2.0. I feel like we got to turn things up, man. So even though it's 7:30 for me, and I rolled out of bed super late, I'm going to have to find a way. I'm not a coffee person either, so I'm going to have to find a way, get like a ginger shot or something.
Do you ever do yerba mate?
We actually have some of those here too. No, I haven't never even tried one, but we have.
It's all natural and it's tea. I like that because I do coffee, but not to wake me up because I'm neurodivergent. It doesn't help, but I just like the taste of it. But way before I got into coffee, I got off of the Red Bulls, all that when I was like in my early 20s. Once I passed college age, I was like, this is terrible. So, I would do yerba mate sometimes, but even now I don't do much. I'll just do cold water if I really need some energy.
Dope. Yeah, I'm gonna give that a try. But let's kick things off a little differently this week. Let's share some wins. I think a lot of people don't know like who we are and what we do. And instead of just kind of telling people, hey, my name is Dame, I've been in the industry, blah, blah, blah. Let's give a little insight into kind of what we do on a weekly basis. And these wins don't have to be crazy big. Sometimes it's the smaller wins, as you've heard me say a million times before, build on small wins. But Payne, over the past week, what would you consider one of your wins?
I had a great event, a great DJ set. And nice. For whatever reason, September is booked every weekend. Actually, one day I'm double booked. Like I have an hour to get from one venue to the next. So that's going to be a long night, but it feels good. It feels good to be busy and working, doing what I love.
See, Payne is out here DJing, making beats, selling beats, platinum records. Dope. Erinn, what's your win this week?
My win actually just came yesterday. I got invited to speak at UT Austin, which is super cool to me because I love speaking at universities, but I'm building a company in Austin right now. And they reached out to me because they watched the MEC, and they know one of the artists that I used to manage who graduated from UT Austin. So they were like, hey, you have so much experience. We'd love for you to come speak to our music business program and do a workshop, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, bet, I can offer some internships too. So I'm just really excited because now I get to build on the music business side in Austin as well. And they don't even know about my other company. So I think even being able to merge the two is super cool. So I'm grateful. If you have a university with the music business program, or even just like a small music business segment, I'd love to come speak. I don't do the free thing, but definitely hit me up because I like talking to college students because I feel like y'all are hungry and open. A lot of times when people get a little bit older, they're like, oh no, because of this, and this. And it's like, that's cool, bro, whatever you want to do. But I like talking to college students because I'm still doing it. A lot of times college kids get people who were successful in the 80s or 90s or even early 2000s, and then they come teach. So that is another reason a lot of colleges bring me in is because they're like, yo, you're young and you're still doing it. So I'm grateful to be doing it, but I haven't spoken at a college probably in over a year. So I'm like really hyped to go to Austin, most likely next month and speak to them. So yeah.
Dope. And then that's why I think we have the Music Entrepreneur Club, because we are still doing it in some way, shape, or form, even though we've had some bumps and bruises, a little bit jaded. I don't work with music artists anymore. We are still working in some capacity in the music industry. Here at Two Loss, I'm our director of marketing. And one of my wins this week was we announced the Game from the Gods. Tickets went on sale. So we're starting to actually sell tickets to this event. It's becoming a reality. It'll be next month. Ray Daniels, myself, and Nyla Simone we'll be putting on a music industry experience. It's not a conference. It's no panels. And they are also, or we are also sponsors of this podcast, Too Lost. If you use the code MEC, you can get 3 months free music distribution, and hopefully you can continue after that because it's only $3. And then we offer a lot of other opportunities to interact and engage. One of those being Game from the Gods. But we have other things like Too Lost Office Hours, our Too Lost Conversations. So we're trying to just provide as much value as possible to the independent community, much like we do here at the Music Entrepreneur Club, which is why Too Lost is a sponsor, because we are aligned. So let's kick things off this week. Payne, I know you have a pretty dope topic. It's been all in the news, or at least in the music industry news. So break down what has happened.
When I first read this article, I mean, and I've seen the titles everywhere of these articles, it says music producers been arrested and charged with streaming fraud for creating thousands of AI generated songs. And I'm like, didn't we read within the last year an article about a European DJ that did the same thing and didn't get arrested? So it kind of threw me off. And then I looked up Spotify's policies on AI generated music, and they don't ban. All they say is, any kind of music that doesn't violate copyright law is fine. So AI music isn't illegal. There are some initiatives, one in the EU that has been actually voted on. They're trying to create a new legal framework for music streaming, similar, I guess, to what YouTube is doing, where you have to disclose whether or not your content is AI generated, which I think is fine. Their concern is impersonation, deepfakes, all that. But I think people deserve to know, especially since it's going to get more and more realistic sounding. But regardless, I needed to go straight to the actual criminal case to get information. So my article comes from justice.gov. And this headline is different from what the music websites have been posting. North Carolina musician charged with music streaming fraud aided by artificial intelligence. And it's the first criminal case involving artificially inflated music streaming, because we've heard of, we talked to Chad Focus about what he's doing. Yeah, he went to federal prison, but that was something else. It feels like a similar case, but different laws. So we're breaking new ground on sending people to prison over music streaming, which I don't recall happening often before the streaming era. I just didn't. Maybe it was happening. We just didn't know because not as many people cared. But I feel like the streaming era offers so many more opportunities for not just fraud, but for people going to prison.
I think people are going for the CDs. Like some people, I heard about some busts in Atlanta back in the day from mixtapes, like some big bust.
Oh, but, DJ Drama's house got raided.
Yeah, and they would threaten it around the time with LimeWire and stuff. Because I remember when I was in college and they would threaten severe penalties. I'm not sure if it was jail, but it was huge financial penalties if you got caught downloading copyrighted material. But everybody used LimeWire in the day to get those remixes and all that music. But so yeah, I didn't know anybody that actually went to jail, but I knew that it was threatened. There were severe penalties if you were caught somehow.
Yeah, well, this is serious. So, U.S. Attorney Damien Williams said, that's your name, twin. He spells his name differently, though, damn. As alleged, Michael Smith fraudulently streams songs created with artificial intelligence billions of times in order to steal royalties. Through his brazen fraud scheme, Smith stole millions in royalties that should have been paid to musicians, songwriters, and other rights holders whose songs were legitimately streamed. I can't stand when they grandstand about how songwriters and rights holders deserve this and that when they're not giving it to us any damn way. But check this out. He generated over $10 million So this speaks to all the people who say you can't make money off streaming. You can. You make millions of dollars off of streaming as long as you know how to defraud the system. But my question is always going to be, why not stop after a few million? I've never understood that. Why take it to 10? Because I feel like he could have gotten away with 4 million.
It's the classic case. I think a lot of people, even with people that like defraud companies, and probably even Chad Focus, I don't remember the details of his case. It's kind of like, you get greedy and you start to think that you can continue to get away with it. And you're like, man, I'm going to keep running this play.
I think Chad Focus was different. I think that was a company-wide shakedown, and I think they used him as a what would the word be? He was the fall guy.
Yeah, for sure. But I agree with Dane. It's like, even so with Chad, not to speak specifics because we don't know if the total amount that he was implicated for was actually his total. But it's like, I'm with you. It's like, take 1 or 2 million. If it works, diversify your portfolio. Go scam another way, or take the money and invest it legitimately. Like, most of the scamming people that I know that are successful now took their cheap money and put it into something legitimate. You know what I'm saying? Like, Dane, you've interviewed him on the Independent Living podcast, but Guap, he was a notorious scammer. Like, that's what he was known for. He didn't really start talking about the fact that he was scamming until after he was getting out of it, and that's what he built his platform on. But Guap was making real money, put it into parties, then took his party money and started putting it into rap, and that's what got him out of scamming. But he was scamming for real. And I know even drug dealers, that's a lot of them, wash their money to be a rapper, but the smart ones aren't even looking at being a rapper. They're buying real estate. They're, you know what I'm saying? And I've experienced, not me personally, but I'm saying I've experienced smart people. So I don't know. I'm not saying he's not smart, but I'm like, damn, like, at least do it from another account, make the paper trail diverse. I don't know, but I agree. I think people get away with murder and then they think they can keep doing it. That's what creates the sociopathic tendencies. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're just like, oh, and then your reward, and then you love the thrill. I think some people get a thrill from being that close to the danger, and the more that they, you know what I'm saying? So who knows?
Well, I guess allegedly he had 2 co-conspirators.
That often fucks things up too, because I can't give any details, so this is going to be very vague, but a very big entertainment company, I just learned that few people got busted for kind of like a kickback scam that involved a couple of people, and you just get messier. I guess you just get messier as it goes, thinking that you're untouchable. And the ship's not as tight, especially if it involves more than one person. Now you're reliant on this person staying tight, not cracking, and kind of sticking to the plan. But this happened at a very large entertainment company, and there's currently an investigation going on. So I don't know anything about that. That's not something I've ever participated in, but I can see, just hearing about different scams and things that go on at companies, it typically sounds like, people just dip too much in the cookie jar and they got both hands in the cookie jar.
I mean, especially with streaming though, because none of it seems real. And I don't mean this literally, but everybody is faking streams.
But it actually is stealing, given how Spotify pays out, right? Because given their pro rata method of how they pay out streams, like all of the streams are like put in a pot, and then, that's it. And all the subscription revenue, all the revenue is put in a pot, and then it's kind of divvied up by market share. So, it actually is stealing from artists that should have gotten that money legitly.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could talk about the morality of that, because when major labels do it, they're stealing too, and they're already at an advantage because they're at the top of the royalty hierarchy. They're the ones that get paid out ultimately more than any of the rest of us.
Yes.
So it kind of is one of those things where you can look at it, you can justify it a number of ways. It's a Robin Hood theory in application. It's a victimless crime where we're just getting back what's meant for the artist. No one's going to get it. Everyone does it. You know, it's like jaywalking. You're not going to get caught for it probably, or like sharing a Netflix account. But if you do it a billion times, which is what Mike Smith did, now you're on their radar. So the article explains how he did it, which is kind of crazy.
Well, it's definitely not the Robin Hood theory, because it's not like he gave that money to anybody else.
That's what I was about to say. It's not
well, no, and more on that.
The poor artist.
more on that, because there's a plot twist, for me at least. So Smith created thousands of accounts on the streaming platform that he could use to stream songs. He then used software to cause the bot accounts to continuously stream stuff. So he created a streaming farm. Blah, blah, blah. He used them to generate approximately 661,440 streams per day, yielding annual royalties of over $1 million.
So he ran this for 10 years?
Yeah, that part isn't clear. There's no way he's been doing this for 10 years. To obtain the necessary number of songs for his scheme to succeed. Oh, maybe he has been doing it for that long, because it says he eventually turned to artificial intelligence. In or about, whoa, okay, I didn't realize this part. In or about 2018, which is a while ago, Smith began working with the chief executive officer of an AI music company, CC-3, as a music promoter, CC-4, this must be a legal reference, to create hundreds of thousands of songs using artificial intelligence that Smith could then fraudulently stream. CC-3 soon began providing Smith with thousands of songs. Oh, these are anonymous co-conspirators. I get what that means. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, and in a 2019 email, holy shit, this was a while ago, Smith, his co-conspirator, wrote to Smith, keep in mind what you're doing musically here. It's not the music, it's instant music. And there was another. So anyway, Smith then created randomly generated song and artist names for audio files so that they would appear to have been created by real artists rather than artificial intelligence. For example, an alphabetically consecutive selection of 25 of the names of the AI songs Smith used is as followed. These are basically every word that starts with a Z, and they're all scientific, like zymotechnical and zymoplastic, zygotes.
So ultimately, he used AI to create hundreds of thousands of songs. He uploaded the songs. I saw that on Ryan Schmidt's post on Instagram. He basically said that he also created like 10,000 like family plan accounts to then run those to put those bots on those accounts.
So was he paying? Was he paying for those plans?
Yeah, you have to pay when you make a stream farm. You got to pay for those accounts.
Oh my gosh!
So is that fraud?
It seems like he's a genius. That's what I'm saying. He's paying Spotify, but he seems like so intelligent, and I feel like that's what a lot of people who defraud systems are, just like frustrated and intelligent. It's like they don't have a job that's paying them worth their intelligence or an opportunity, or they're always blocked or pushed out from things. I honestly, personally, if it wasn't a moral thing for me, I would have been scamming. What? It's so easy. I promise y'all, I gotta be real. It's so easy to spot, like, now, on the technical side, I'm not saying that. I'm not super technical, but there's so many ways to make money in this world, especially if you know people and systems. So for me, with you reading 2018, I'm like, bro was ahead of this. None of us were thinking about AI music in 2018. At least I wasn't. Do you know what I'm saying? So for him
I wasn't
to
either.
have this type of thought process, and I feel like stream farms didn't even get super popular. We didn't even really know what was going on with those until about 2018, 2019. So the fact that he was building one out and then was like, I still need to generate music faster. Let me go like the AI route. I would love to talk to bro and see what his mind is. Like what type of mind he has. Cause it seems like he's just super intelligent.
Oh, I got some info on that. So here's the plot twist. I get an email from a random rapper that I've never interacted with saying, hey, I got beats from you years ago, and I want to make sure that they were legally purchased. And I was like, okay. He said, in light of everything going on with Mike Smith and his arrest and the crimes he's been committed, I hope you understand why I'm emailing you. I'm like, what does Mike Smith have to do with me? So, Mike Smith, when he was 23 years old, he built his fortune, according to Wikipedia, with an IT business. He then built, bought, and sold 3 regional chains of medical practices. So it sounds like they've made a bunch of money, or he made a bunch of money for his family. But Mike is a record producer. He's produced for Snoop Dogg, Billy Ray Cyrus, all types of big people. And he, in 2013, co-founded a label called SMH Records. And they had Caroline Distribution, division of Capitol Music Group. They had a huge Nigerian heiress who infused some money into it. And they had a show. They released singles with artists ranging from Crooked Eye to Dizzy Wright. He formed a group called Pink Grenade, which I'm quite sure my friend Ted Park was a part of. And he's right now getting his hair cut. Otherwise, I would ask him. But BET's one-shot hip-hop show, which I had tons of music on. All those rappers that were recording beats, they were using my beats. So I was like, oh, shit, that's him? I had no idea. When we say the music business is small, the music business is small. So this is having a ripple effect because I'm slow and I didn't put 2 and 2 together. So I brought it up to Teddy. He was like, yeah, I was wondering who I could talk to about this. I'm like, yeah, me, bro. We're on the same shit. So it wasn't just him. It was a lot of people in the business that, you know, because I didn't link. I'm not going to throw a bunch of people's names in the mix, but you can just look up the Wikipedia and see all the people that he's worked with and that I probably have worked with, or I definitely have worked with. A lot of people. So that's pretty wild that happened. But then again, it speaks to your question, Erinn. You know, is he a genius? Well, probably. If in the 90s he was a tech giant. But then my question is, you look at his resume and it's just a series of financial win after financial win after financial win. So why do this? This seems like such a high risk. It's
not about the money at this point. I actually do know a couple of rich kids like this. They were rich when they were young, or they inherited money, or they come from a rich family. They're just bored. And when you're really smart and bored, again, you just want to touch the fire. So it's almost like a game of cat and mouse, because it's like, what are you going to do to get your thrills? Especially if they said 23, he sold 2 tech companies. Dude has probably traveled all over the world. He's probably base dived. He's probably done all the wild shit in his 20s. So now he's in his 30s. Again, genius level, it seems. A tech company, a medical company, you've produced for some of the biggest artists in the world, and now you're just getting into AI and shit. He's probably just experimenting because it's fun. You know what I'm saying? And then he's probably thinking, again, he's invincible at this point, because when you build and sell $2 million medical company or tech companies in your 20s, yeah, I think he's just probably not even bored. It's like the thrill of fucking things up. And I know a lot of people like that. Some people are broke and have the thrill of fucking things up. I have a cousin like that. God bless him. And that man goes to jail. Like, you know, just like petty stuff. So it's like he'll be in and out of jail for 3 to 6 months, but he just loves fucking stuff up because he's super smart. But this dude seems like he's on that same type of time. He just has a bunch of money and he's like on another level of genius and probably has access to things that most people don't.
I wonder if it'll come out in the trial of like, hey, yeah, maybe he admits to doing this, but, because he knows about bots and streaming farms and things like that, he says, hey, well, all of these other players are doing this too. How come they're not sitting right next to me? Where's Warner Music? Where's Atlantic? Where's, these bigger entities that get away with this every single day? It'd be interesting to see what kind of conversations that starts if that comes out of the trial. But homeboys probably would sit down for a little while.
I would.
Sorry, go ahead, Payne.
No, I'm saying that I think that should be a part of his PR strategy. So at least he's putting some pressure from the court of public opinion. But sorry, Erinn, what were you going to say?
Dude probably has great lawyers, so they may already be leaning in that direction. I was going to ask you, when the person asked about the legal, like the right to have the music, was that because they were assuming that potentially you were making AI music, or like tell me the link to that question.
I guess it's just that he figured, all right, Mike Smith is now being accused of crimes. Could he have come upon these beats illegally and then just said that I had made them? Or did he take them from me? And already I was like, I don't know Mike Smith. Who? And he sent me all these links to different articles that I just at the time didn't read because it was probably like midnight when I saw that text or that email. But yeah, I mean, also Mike Smith has 6 kids, so kids are expensive. Maybe that's part of it. It's according to Wikipedia. The justice.gov article concludes Smith, 52, of Cornelius, North Carolina, that's a hell of a name that's a very southern city. Cornelius, North Carolina, is charged with wire fraud conspiracy, which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison, wire fraud, which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison, and money laundering conspiracy, which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. I'd like to know how it became money laundering because that part isn't clear. The maximum potential sentences are prescribed by Congress and provided here for informational purposes only. Blah, blah, blah. The charges contained in the indictment are merely accusations, and the defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. So, damn, Mike Smith, damn.
Let's get let's transition into another topic. Although Mike Smith is probably the most generic name ever.
You probably get away with a lot of shit.
That name real?
Mike Smith. Well, we'll continue to follow the story, see what happens with Mike, see how many years he actually gets. Should be an interesting trial. But anyway, my topic this week is, so Erinn, can I say the name or not say the name? I don't know okay.
Go for it.
So there's an app that's marketing itself as kind of a replacement for an artist manager. It's like an artist manager app. So if you don't have a manager, you can get this app. It's called Roadie. So I think as a manager myself, obviously it's kind of like your initial reaction is kind of like, what the heck? Like, you can't replace a manager, somebody that's tasked with doing so many things. If you're a quality manager, like, you can't replace what we do with an app. So obviously it just kind of triggers some managers when you say like, hey, there's an app for this. But I downloaded it and I got access to it the other day. It's actually not a bad tool. I would encourage people to check it out, actually, because if you're stuck and you don't have, it's not a replacement for a manager, but it can just kind of generate some ideas for you. It uses AI. So, you can type in it like, hey, how do I get traction on Instagram? And it will give you some ideas. So it can jumpstart some things, maybe give you a little structure, but it's definitely not a replacement for an actual manager. And if it just lets me know that a company that comes up with something like this doesn't really know what a manager does. The music industry is still very much a people's business, still very much a relationship business. What we do on a day to day is just kind of managing expectations, managing relationships. Like, there's so much that goes into this that maybe at some point there could be some AI that can, I doubt it. We're nowhere near AI replacing a manager with today's technology. So it's just a little disappointing because I think that this app potentially could be marketed to managers and maybe even be more successful. I think managers could essentially use this tool. But just to give you an example of like why, if there's some people listening to this, like, yeah, I can replace a manager with an app, because there probably are some people that think that. I think Hobson probably thought that back in the day. But, you know, Big Ja and so I manage a comedian named Big Ja, and we've kind of gotten to a point where I don't feel like our day-to-day activities are positioning us for like greatness. Like, he wants to be great. He wants to be in the same breath of like a Kevin Hart. He wants to play on that stage. He wants, you know, his idols or Eddie Murphy, the Wayans family, things like that. But I think that, you know, as great as the internet is and the social media is, it's allowed us to build a business. I think that once you start making a certain amount of money through social media, you start to take your foot off the gas, right? And if you tell me that your end goal is Kevin Hart or being in the same conversations as some of our greats in comedy and television, you can't get slowed down by getting comfortable, because like in the early days when Ja didn't have any money, you know, he was probably pumping out a video a day, like putting out videos every single day. And now, you know, we still put out stuff, but it's not the same consistency. There's no urgency, right? It's not like he needs to put out a video today to buy groceries. So anyway, long story short is like an AI app is not going to have that conversation with an artist and remind that artist or creator of the end goal. I think as a manager, one of your many jobs is motivation, is just kind of motivating them and reminding them like, hey, we're not doing the things today that's going to get us to Kevin Hart status, that's going to get us in the same conversations as the Wayne. You told me that was the end goal. Number one, is that still the end goal? Because let's have that conversation, because going back to the Funk Volume experience, I think the end goal changed unbeknownst to me. And I was still driving towards like being as big as possible. And Hop was like taking his foot off the gas, and then we didn't have that communication. And then things just started falling apart. So there's so many. I mean, Erinn, you've been a manager before. Payne, you've been a manager before. There's so many things. It's not even worth having the conversation of like, can an app replace a manager? There's so many things that an app is not going to do, because it's still very much a people's business. But give me your guys' perspective on, I know you guys haven't actually checked out the Roadie app because I just got access to it, but just the idea and the concept of there being an app that could be marketed as a replacement as a manager. You guys have any thoughts or feedback on that?
We talked about a different app that called itself a manager in your pocket or something like that.
Well, there's a distribution company that used to be, that I think maybe still markets itself as a record label in a pocket, and that's still out of pocket. But we
had a Dame's got bars today. No, we had another conversation about a different app that said this is a manager in your phone or something like that. I don't know the exact tagline, but it immediately struck me that if that app can't do damage control for an artist's decisions, it absolutely cannot replace a manager. I mean, I think the issue nowadays with technology is people are looking to replace a role, and I mean that's a problem. Period. That's a widespread problem, and we're innovating our way into dystopia and with a smile on our faces. But yeah, this app, I'm sure, is incredibly helpful for people who are motivated and who understand. It's like anything, right? Any damn near any app that's being advertised as a helpful tool that's assistive to creatives probably has merit. It's just that it's entirely dependent on the person using it. You know what I mean? And so when I see how these are marketed, I'm thinking, okay, you're going to catch a bunch of people who are lazy. I don't know how these apps can sustain themselves, because I guess, I don't know. Do people just sign up for shit and then forget that they're paying for it, and that's the revenue model for a lot of services? Because most artists, I have a feeling, I haven't used this app, I have a feeling that the app requires a lot of input, a lot of involvement. I'm sure the app is set up as basically a virtual assistant. And am I way off?
No, I mean, that's kind of what it's more like. I think there are a lot of tech folks that just, have an interest of jumping in the music industry. And they feel like because they're techie that they can solve all of the music industry's problems. And yes, the music industry has benefited from a lot of technical advancements. We got hit up all the time during the Funk Volume era with like a new app and a new thing. And all these folks are excited to jump in the music, but they know nothing about it. They know nothing about like how this works. Like if you have worked with artists for even a few months or worked with managers for even a few months, this is not maybe it's just a marketing thing, but this is not a replacement for a manager. And it's wild that you would position it that way because it's going to be so off-putting to potential customers. Like, again, I feel like managers might actually use this before artists would. But still, I would suggest people check it out and see if it helps. I mean, maybe it helps, some artists more in their early stages. I can't imagine anybody that has like traction already kind of turning to this for support. But it might be helpful.
I mean, maybe though, like think about you have a team, you might use one of these Monday or Asana style programs, and maybe that helps if you already have some momentum and you just want to systematize it and centralize it. And I can see an artist that's, highly motivated, but maybe chaotic and scattered, which is a lot of us. And they just want something that's convenient and mobile that they can centralize all of their tasks. And again, I don't know how it works, but if you input some events or some ideas and it somehow organized them and gave you reminders and gave you best practices, suggestions and things like that, I can see that being helpful. I would love it if, my problem is it's just, I'm like, damn, I don't want to learn the technology because I'm too busy. But if something were to come along that just kind of sat there in the background and learned how I worked and would just recommend like, hey, when's the last time you had some water? Hey, did you remember to schedule this? Hey, I noticed you normally send out this email on Wednesdays. Just reminder, it's Wednesday. Are you, stuff like that. And then maybe suggesting new articles, suggesting, hey, this platform just popped up. It could be relevant. But now it sounds like AI, and I don't want that.
Yeah, and stuff like that, I think could be helpful. But again, that's still not a replacement for a manager and the very real conversations and relationships that you need to build.
I just think that's a positioning and a marketing thing. Because when it first started, that was not what it was called. It wasn't like they didn't have it. I think it's a good tagline to at least catch attention. But I agree. Like, I think in the nature of this business, artists are always looking for a replacement for their manager because they're either disgruntled or don't want to pay them or both. That's just like how it goes. So for me, even when people were trying to replace me with humans, I'm not saying I'm the best manager ever, but I am phenomenal at building relationships and spotting trends and developing conversations and keeping people clear of, like bad decision making, or if you make a bad decision, making sure it doesn't reflect on you. Those are skills that can't even be taught in my experience. They're skills that have to be observed and honed by the person who decides to incorporate them into their style and their life. So for me, I know that everybody that I've left, I've never been able to take a survey, or who has left me, there was a void that they probably had no idea about. And there were things that I was cultivating that they probably had no idea about, because I'm future oriented. So I'm thinking about what does their career look like, so I do think that marketing to artists who are probably not don't have a manager just yet. So replacing a manager works because it's like, dang, I don't have a manager. Well, I can have this app. But also typically artists who don't have a manager yet probably aren't making a ton of money. Maybe they are, who knows? But I just don't see them sitting down, like you said, Payne, learning a new tech and then incorporating it into their life. Like this isn't, I don't understand why any of these tech companies market anything to artists. I feel like a lot of them are wising up because that's where I'm starting to make a section of my money is like tech companies, like sitting down with me like, yo, so like, how do we talk to artists? And I'm like, they don't care about any of this shit that you guys are talking about. Like efficiency, all of these, their thought is, how can I make money? How can I go on tour? That's it. Like they're not, it's so binary for most artists. A handful of them are outliers and think differently. But a lot of these, Dame, you were talking about, they don't know how to talk to artists. Here's the thing. They think they do. A lot of these guys used to play in a band. That's like the overwhelming, like, I used to gig at coffee shops, or I used to play in a band, and then I went to school, and then I got into the tech industry, and this is going to revolutionize the industry. But it's like none of them ever had career success. And their thought process is, if I would have had this tool when I was a musician, I would have taken off. So therefore, this is helpful. Truth of the matter is, that was a different era whenever you're thinking about it, but also it's like you went to school or developed a tech, so your mind already works this way. Vast majority of artists aren't thinking this way, don't care about it. They wouldn't even learn their distribution service and how to upload shit if it wasn't paying them. Do you know what I'm saying? I've represented several artists where I'm like, I'm not uploading your shit. Like, you upload your song. Do you know what I'm saying? Just because they need to know that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, what? Like, I can't tell you how many artists that I couldn't get to download. I'm like, have you looked at your Spotify for artists or your Apple Music? And they're like, I saw my top streaming. So I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? So I think it's just a misunderstanding. And then you get a few outliers who you're like, yo, bro, I got this new technology. Let's test it, you know? So that's why I think even like with Brandon Torrey, I think he's smart because he's utilizing his mechanism on himself. He's showing the real world advantage so that when people want to get into it or finally get hip to it, he's already proven it, but he's not trying to go after a bunch of artists to understand it. He has worked with some, but you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. When it comes to new tech, artists are the last, you know, there's like, what is it? Like early adopters. There's like there's the chart of people who get into stuff. Managers are always, in my opinion, early adopters. Everything should be marketed and accessible to managers. Artists are at the last part. They're just before the record labels. As artists, their evolution. You know, artists shit on record labels, but they evolve the latest just like record labels. So I don't know. I think it's a marketing.
So sad that like the technologies that come out are created by people who are excited to help, and that excitement to help is their downfall. And it's the same when we talk about management. It's the same way. Managers who see an artist with talent, they're like, I'm so excited to help this person make their dreams come true. And then the person's like, make my dreams come true? Fuck you. Make my fucking dreams come true. Suck a dick, make my dreams. They're so mad about it. It really will be like that. And then the tech companies are the same. They're like, wow, what if we could streamline this incredibly challenging logistics issue for modern day musicians? Well, we figured it out, and this is really going to help a lot of people. And the artists are like, I don't even know what that is. I'm not paying for that shit. $3.99 for an app? Fuck off.
What the hell just happened, Payne? Your cat again?
Yep. Hold on. I'm just going to mute myself for a second. And you know what? No, I'm just going to leave
spider like what I'm on patrol with. Because I've been looking up because I was still looking for that spider I was trying to kill. I thought Payne was dealing with the same thing, like the spider was launching at him.
It's a spider cat who launched himself at my acoustic panels and just pulled it all down. And he's lucky his little ass didn't get squished.
While we wait for Payne to reset itself.
No, I'm good. I got it. I'm not touching it. He's just going to do it again if I put it back up.
Erinn, it's funny that you just mentioned, artists that don't even upload their music, because that kind of came up in the conversation I just had with Ollie Joseph on the Independent Living podcast. He had mentioned that, a lot of artists don't even know how to upload their music. And I think that's pretty wild that artists don't do some of the basic. I'm not surprised. I'm definitely not surprised by it. But I think other people would be that aren't in the music industry. They're probably like, what? You don't even know how to use your distribution service? Like, you don't even know how to use Too Lost? Like, that's pretty wild. But anyway, just side note, people should watch the conversation with Ollie Joseph that I had on the Independent Living podcast. I'm going to be posting clips from it because it definitely is a different opinion. He calls himself Spotify's #1 fan.
I need to check that out.
So yeah, Ollie's my guy. He's smart. I think when you guys watch it, you'll see why him and I connect.
Do you think he would be somebody who would use this app? Because that's what I feel like. There's only a small section of people who can even talk and think on this level. So then it's just like, okay, he would probably be the target audience to replace a manager. Not that he would replace his manager, but add it to his suite of services for his team. Yeah,
definitely not replace him. And he's smart enough to know that this app is not going to replace his manager. But it could, it could be something that gives your team some structure, like to have some initial structure and then use more creativity to kind of build off that, or to do, pivot from exactly what this thing is telling you to do if you think it's in the best interest of your, of your current career.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair with technology, that whole record label in a pocket thing is a good example, because obviously it's not a record label in your pocket, but it's still a useful tool because it's distribution. So I'm going to use a distributor. I'm just going to ignore the marketing. The marketing doesn't make it a bad.
I just think it's all a marketing ploy.
It is. No, we definitely all can agree on that. But I do think it has some pretty negative effects on real artist-manager relationships. Because artists are still confused on because not that many artists have a legit manager. A legit manager is really hard to come by.
Yeah,
not that many exist. Number one, and the ones that do it, and the ones that do exist get chased out of the industry fairly quickly. If you stick around, shout out to you, because there's not that many that stick around for the long haul. Because if you are a very smart person, you typically find other things to get into that pay you a lot more money with a lot less stress.
Correct.
So if you stay in this for a very long time from a management perspective, you really love this shit and you are a unicorn.
Or you don't know that there's much better for you. Because I've met some managers. I've met a handful of music execs who are just still just crazy stressed. I'm like, damn, I was having that conversation with you 5 years ago. I was too, but I'm not living. I want to live. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes people get stuck in that, well, I'm doing something purposeful, or I can't leave this artist. Little do they know that artist is dipping on you the moment they get too pissed. You know what I'm saying? There's very few, A Boogie's manager just started vlogging, which I think is super cool because there's no music business people consistently posting on YouTube. I know because I be looking, and I'm in the process of developing some media for YouTube and stuff like that as well, because it's an untapped space. I think it's because, one, artists be getting jealous. They don't like their managers or anybody to be in the spotlight aside from them. But two, it's because I think it's so stressful, all the stuff that you're going through and building. You don't have time to think about being in the front of the camera. And then by the time you can get to that place, they done fired you, or you're like, I'm out of here. So I do think it's rare that people stick around. I think that what you were saying, though, is that it could create tension for the artist relationship. That goes back to my point. Artists are just looking for a reason. So it's I can't blame the Roadie app for calling it that. I think it's a cool marketing, it's a positioning thing, but artists are already looking for a reason to have, man, I could just replace you with an app. If you say that shit to me, obviously I don't manage artists anymore because they used to, when you say that shit to me, cool, replace me, big dog.
I could just imagine an artist like getting into like an argument with a manager, like on tour, like in the tour bus, and then the artist is like, roadie, like you're about to just replace, like, yeah, that's why, yeah, roadie, that's why I'm tapping in roadie. Like, it's just.
But you're giving artists too much credit, I feel like. To even know that roadie exists means that they've done some element of studying the business outside of themselves. Most artists just sit and scroll their own videos. They look at their own comments that they don't reply to. Then they look at their friends and they shit talk their friends because they're jealous. And then they go dap them up in person and be like, bro, I see you killing it. So you're giving artists way too much credit. Every article I ever sent to an artist, I heard in an interview later, like, yeah, I was reading the other day. Like, bitch, please, you were not. I sent that shit to you. You do not be looking up these articles. So I think you're giving people too much credit, Dave. I don't know any artist that's looking up the Roadie app.
As you can see, we are a couple of very jaded managers with some interesting experiences. But
management is a 0 out of 10 experience.
We'll wrap up this segment. I'll just wrap up this segment by reiterating, if you're an artist that is fortunate enough to have somebody in your corner that's going to bat for you and that is trying to understand the industry and build these relationships, please let them know that you appreciate them, because they're not going to be in this for long if you don't show that there's some appreciation for their efforts and that they're a valuable member of the team. So I think that's just super important, not just for managers, but everybody on your team. If you value the people on your team, please let them know consistently, because if they're valuable folks, they're going to have other opportunities, and, they don't need to work with you. So
I feel like they don't believe that, though. They're folks.
Hey, maybe they're not. Maybe they don't. But I don't think most artists, I think the artists that are tapping into the MEC are more likely to believe that, because we built some trust. Yeah. They kind of understand, what we do. We don't even have to do this. I mean, they understand that we have some real experience. So, yeah, I think on average, an artist is not going to believe or listen to this, but the average MEC listener might. So,
I agree with that, and it's like, yeah, our audience is dope because they care. They're tapped in. And I think it's because they can tell that we care. Like, we all genuinely want to be here and like educate folks and help folks out. So yeah, shout out to y'all. Speaking of y'all, I'm going to transition into my topic. We can run fast with this, but I want to start a new segment called Ask the MEC, because y'all ask a good amount of questions, and I'm trying to be more intentional about getting in the comments, getting in the DMs, and not only responding to y'all, but seeing what y'all are talking about so we can have an understanding of who y'all are, what your needs are. If you need a manager in your pocket or a replacement for a manager, or if there's other needs you have. But touring and throwing festivals have come up recently. So I'm going to read a question that one of our that was sent to us recently. And then I'm going to just give you, Damon Payne, the opportunity to kind of just give you a rundown of it. It's specifically in the festival space. I don't know if y'all have experience building festivals, but I feel like y'all's relevant industry experience would be helpful. And then I can kind of just let you know what I told him. But he said, hey, guys, I'm wondering if you have any thoughts or recommendations for a group of people throwing their first music festival. It's our first year as a grassroots event called, he doesn't want me to say the name, no big financial backer or anything like that. But per your recent post, I'm sure there are people who can help us do better and faster. Any thoughts or tips would be much appreciated. So I looked into the festival. Branding looks cool. If I'm not mistaken, this is their first year, but the organizers is a group of guys or a group of artists. I don't know if it's all guys, a group of artists who have come together, but several of them have experienced throwing other festivals. The promo is good. The branding is good. Their faces are on it. It very much looks like a homegrown local festival. So I'm not saying it's competing with like Coachella, but their colors are on point. They're posting consistently. So to me, it was like a worthy question because it seems like they're doing all the things, at least digitally, that need to be done. So then I kind of dove in and asked him, like, what's your issue? And he's like, well, we've only sold, I think he said something like 20% of our tickets, and it's coming up in a month and a half. And we're really nervous because we've already paid guarantees, for 50% of the guarantees for people. So I want to make sure that not only there are people there for these artists that we've booked, but also that we can pay the balance of what we booked them for.
And they just want general, advice?
Yeah, general advice on selling tickets, garnering interest, things like that.
I mean, because we're going through, it's not a festival, but we're touring. Game from the Gods is a new idea. It's a new concept. And I know it's going to be very difficult. I think at the end of the day, we'll be able to get a lot of people in these rooms because, just of our collective efforts, right? Like Ray has a presence. Nyla, has an audience. She's going to be talking about it on the Breakfast Club, and we're all using the platforms and things we have access to. But I think one of the things that we're doing is really leveraging our partnerships that are also in the space. Obviously, I've been in the music business education space for a really long time. So, and we're cool with a lot of the other organizations that do good work. So 24/7 Artists, No Labels Necessary, the MEC podcast, Ari's Take. So we kind of authentically have already tapped into a lot of these communities to help amplify Game from the Gods. And hopefully that assists in, selling it out, getting people in these rooms. But I fear that it sounds like this person, they might have already kind of messed up. I don't know, in terms of how they've budgeted this, and I don't know what artists they've reached out to and the things that they've already guaranteed to artists. Because I think a lot of people like to jump into the festival space because it sounds fun and, to be a part of and things like that. But then you don't realize how difficult it is to throw a festival and how long it typically takes to turn a profit. I forget what the exact number was, but I think it was something most festivals don't turn a profit for 3 years.
Yeah, I think it's 3 years that break even, and 5 years is typically when you're making money.
Yeah. So hopefully that's not everyone, but that's just kind of on average. But I think knowing that you have to have a long-term vision for this. And I don't know if their initial budget takes that into account. And it's hard to get people out the house. We've talked about this a lot of times on the MEC podcast, just when artists tour. If you get 10 people to pay for a ticket to come out of their house, possibly get a babysitter, pay for parking, all this other shit you got to deal with when you leave the house, that means they really, really rock with you. And it's hard to do that these days when there's so many other things that you're competing with for people's time. People could just chill at home and watch Disney Plus or Netflix or whatever, or just go out to eat and have a nice evening. So, I would really hit the ground hard and think about every relationship that you currently have and just start reaching out to people to see if they would be down to post the flyer. You might be able to give some tickets away for free to some organizations, and they can do an initiative to amplify the awareness of the event. It's a lot of kind of the thinking that we're going through now. How do we create more awareness for Game from the Gods? Do we want to give away some invites to people, some special invites to, music executives or artists in the area that we know will repost or share on socials that they're coming? But I fear that the budgeting could have been wrong from the jump. But
I will say, he said they're not looking to make any money this year. They're just trying not to lose money.
Got you. So, yeah, I would just use your collective figure out exactly, do a brainstorm session of what are your collective resources. I have a list here of every city and who I plan to reach out to for different things, right? And Nyla's doing the same. So, Nyla has access to local television in DC. We're going to be doing an interview when we go there. Ray obviously has a bunch of I would just get everybody together and just put our collective resources on a sheet and figure out, how we can leverage these resources, to amplify awareness of this event. And, I would just start there. That's ultimately what we're doing. If they haven't
echo what Dame's saying, it sounds like the fact that they're contacting you after they've already pulled the trigger is a problem, because it's gonna and I don't know, I don't have all the information. I hope they fail forward, but if the stakes are higher, it's more of a fail than a forward fail in a lot of instances, unfortunately. Because my advice would always be, someone starting out, is to start small. Don't start with a music festival. Start promoting events with way lower stakes. If you invest $400 in an event, cool. But if you invest $40,000 in an event, oh my God, you're really under some pressure. And when you start small, you learn, not all, but most of the logistical and marketing problems that you're going to face when you start booking a festival. You're going to start building up your networks. You're going to, you book a show and you're like, shit, how do I advertise this? How do I get it in the newspaper? How do I get it on these online calendars? How do I market it on social media? Oh, I have no idea how to use ads to market an event. Oh, this boost didn't really work. Damn, I just realized I don't have much of a local audience on a social media page that I can use as an anchor for advertising this event. Damn, I don't have that many friends. Oh, I thought it was as easy as just inviting people to a Facebook invite. Oh, that didn't work. Now it's back to the drawing board, but at least I only invested $400, right? And so the night of the event, cool, it is what it is. We did a door deal. Sorry it didn't work out. We'll try it again. And you keep trying. Obviously, there are and I've never booked an event, a large scale, not as large as a music. What am I saying? We're doing a music festival this Friday. The security, logistics, the licensing, all of that, it's similar to what you deal with at a smaller cap venue, but just blown out of proportion. And it can be overwhelming, but at least you're prepared. The insurance, all that. A festival comes with more challenges than just booking a smaller venue for $250 and then, spending an additional $150 on ads. And I'd say just start there if you're not this person. This person, I would say, man, you got to scramble, and it might take giving away a lot of tickets, a lot of giveaways, a lot of really organic, engaging methods. But then again, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they've done already. Can they get artists to offer drops? Can you get interviews on radio with the artists? What can you do at this point?
Erinn, so from your perspective, what's the draw? Is it the overall experience that they're creating, or is it the individual artists that they're expecting to bring people to the event? You're on mute.
I have no idea, because I don't know any of the artists. I'm not familiar. I think
just from the marketing, does it scream like, hey, these artists are going to be here, so you should be here too? Or is it like, hey, this is an experience for, the vegan lifestyle, and I think you should be here? Like, is it more like the experience that's drawing them out? Or is it like, oh, I know that, Louis Vert's going to be there, so I need to be there?
So I think it's how robust their lineup is, because the way they have it set, if looking at this, because it's a 3-day festival. No, it's a 4-day festival. Lord.
Sheesh.
Yeah, just looking, it looks like they have about 60, close to 70 artists. So I think they're marketing the amount of artists that they have. I also think the location, the area, they're like in the woods of California. And they're kind of just showing like that they're in the woods. It's kind of, it feels like, I won't say a hippie festival, but again, grassroots, like we're coming to hang out with everybody who's kind of on the same vibe. We're going to learn new music artists, but also come see some of our favorites. So I think they're robust lineup, but also community, because there's another festival that recently went under in an area that's close to theirs because of like weather, insurance, all this different stuff back to back, and they're like offering a 50% off tickets to everybody who was planning on going to that festival to come to theirs. I would have honestly said it's free to all those people who had a ticket, but I don't know. It's really well organized. They have like a FAQ that they're they're just, I don't know. They've done a really good job, in my opinion. They're doing the countdowns. They're putting their face and stuff, but they have the branding in most of the stuff. So I don't know. I think I can't quite tell. They have a movement workshop. I think it's mainly a community focus. If I could be honest, it seems like they're focused on what their community enjoys and kind of giving the community a well-rounded experience.
Yeah, because my preference would be, and I know that they can't go back now, is like the Nerdcore PartyCon guys. There's a Nerdcore PartyCon event every year, and like they've started out smaller and like have grown. Typically when you start with a big splash, obviously that's a lot more risky, a lot more money involved. And again, it's hard to get people out. But if the draw is the artist, you're going to have to figure out a way to possibly incentivize the artist to push harder on their behalf, or run some ads targeting those artists' fans so that they're aware that this is happening in their city. But everybody has to, if at this point you say it's about a month out, yeah, they should definitely have a meeting. And like I said before, put their collective.
It's this weekend. Sorry, y'all. It's this weekend.
Is this weekend?
Yeah, but he asked me some weeks ago. I got to be honest, but it's this weekend.
Oh, well, hopefully things have gotten better over the past couple. If it's this weekend, yeah. At the end of the day, just know that if this is going to be, if you want another one, you just have to make sure that there are people there. So, even if you take a complete L, just getting good footage, getting people there and having that footage. Same with Game from the Gods. Like if a couple weeks out, we haven't sold a single ticket, best believe it was just be like, hey, everybody come out, for free. Because we need that footage of people experiencing this so they know what it is, so that we can then pitch to brands for the next one and get more people to buy tickets the next time. But yeah.
I think that's an important tip. A lot of people don't think about that. That's something that when I was like a young promoter, I was like, man, if I can't sell any tickets, I at least got to just get people here for free. One, a lot of people throwing shows can't even get people for free, and they don't realize that. So you have to buy your audience. And I've talked about this before. Offer an open bar for the first people who come through. Offer something crazy, but also the scaled down. I will agree. The first ever festival I threw was called Jam Festa Party. Y'all have heard me talk about this. Russ headlined. Ink's band was on there, and she's the one who wrote 16 Carriages and Texas Hold'em. She's written a ton. She's written for Chris Brown, everybody, but that's like her most recent. Her band was on the lineup. Boom, boom, boom. We're in a venue in Atlanta called Vinyl. Holds, I think, 155 people, something like that. And it cost us, I think, $600 to get the room all day. So we started Jam Festa Party at, I think, like 4 o'clock. So we started at sound check at like 1 o'clock, whatever. It went from like 4 to midnight. So we called it Jam Festa Party because we couldn't afford to rent a space to throw a festival. I knew the band I managed could probably bring out 30 to 40 people. So we just stacked the lineup with all of our homies who wanted to play. And so I think, yeah, starting small, like Payne said, and that one sold out, but we were only selling tickets for like $15, $20, something like that. And even that was a stretch for us because most of our shows were like $5 to $10. But that sold out, cool. But all the artists, I gave like 10 to 15 tickets. And I'm like, just bring me back $5 per ticket. Y'all can do everything else. So we broke even because we were giving the money to the artists, but it was a good proof of concept. And then we built from there. And I think even now, building and throwing festivals, the reason that I'm able to do it is taking that information. But yeah, my advice to him was like doing a tiered ticket system. I was like, you should start your tickets off as an early bird sale and then say the early bird sold out so that people's psyche is now like, oh shit, it's sold out. There's an urgency. I said, you could just put 10 or 15 tickets on sale for early bird. And then I told him to run a flash sale where you could do 50% off. Same thing, like you said, Dame, like meeting with all your people. What are the resources we have? Making people ambassadors. I'm speaking at a conference in November and they made me an ambassador. They took like 10 of the speakers and they're like, hey, post like this and we'll give you a portion of everything that you bring in from people. So now I'm like, bet, not only am I getting brought out to speak, I get paid additionally to like, you know what I'm saying? So I think you got to really think. I think a lot of times artists who throw festivals or artists who do things think other artists are the selling point. Coachella doesn't sell because Frank Ocean maybe Frank Ocean. Coachella doesn't sell because Coldplay got booked. I'm going to be honest. Shout out to Chris Martin. It's not selling because of that. It's selling because Coachella does all the marketing and they got the influencers and the socials. The conglomerate people are like, oh yeah, I get to see Coldplay and Beyonce and Donald Glover. But I feel like festivals sell because the marketing is done well and you're so interested in being in the environment. If you hinge all of your sales on an artist, and even when people used to book my artists, they'd be like, can y'all promote more? I'm like, we're not the promoter. We did post about it. We put up a reel, but we get booked. We got 6 more bookings this month. I can't sell your tickets for you. So I think when you're building something like this, you have to know that you already have a captive, engaged audience, and this is a way to escalate it. You really have to have great marketing tactics. You can't just rely on the lineup. But shout out to y'all with the festival.
But with it coming up so quickly, I feel like that's the only lever that you can. And not only with it coming up so quickly, with there not having been one of these before, you don't know what we don't know what the experience is like. We don't know how fun it is. We don't know what kind what kind of activations are going to be on site. So. Man,
I'll tell y'all this one thing, and this is not just for festivals. And I think people think that, especially for me, they're like, man, because I've sold out over 100 events in my career. That's concerts, parties, whatever. Some, smallest is like 24. Most tickets I've sold thus far for a single day is like 979. I can't wait to break that 1,000 mark. But for a weekend experience, we sold like 1,850 for a festival. But this is something that anybody can do that most people won't do. I didn't have Instagram until the week before my first sold out event. So I've never relied on Instagram. I still do this now. I have an event in Atlanta coming up next week. The ATL Collective has, a nonprofit event. And so I'm texting people and people are like, yeah. I'm like, no, it's a whole process. When I used to sell events, I would text 10 to 15 people a day for the 15 days leading up to the event. And it's not, hey bro, can you come to this event? I'd be like, yo, I haven't talked to you in a while. Do you still live in Atlanta? What's up? And then you start this whole long process of re-engaging genuinely with somebody, finding out what they're doing in their life. And then when they ask you, it gives you the opportunity to be like, man, life is good, yada, yada, yada. I actually got an event next week, and don't even invite them. You just kind of mention it. But that shit used to take hours. And I mean hours. But after years and years of doing that, my email list is so robust now, I can send an email and be like, boom, 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 boom. But with the ATL Collective thing, it's not my own event. So now I'm going back through and I'm texting people. And I told everybody on the show, I hit them top of this week, hey, everybody should text 100 people. If all of us sell 10 tickets, we're about to sell out the event. 100 people for 10 tickets, that's a 10% conversion rate. That's incredible. But how many people responded to the email? Like 2. Most people don't, and I said, if you text just 55 people, I'm going to give you this thing. I'm giving you a free consultation with me, yada, yada, yada. If the top seller is going to get this, I'm incentivizing the artist because I'm not going to do the work for them. But easy technique, if you are an artist and you have an event, even if it's not your show, text hella people, because if you can bring bodies out to a show, promoters take notice. They're like, wait, you got 20 or 30 people to this show, and now you can leverage that. And the touring, throwing events, all the stuff that you want to do is now just because you weren't lazy and you texted 30 or 40 people. There are plenty of people who want to come see you, or at least a homie who's like, damn, let me go support, or another rapper who you're like, bro, come to my show. I'll pay for your next event. Even that, like, barter with people. But that's my 52 cents. I think selling tickets isn't as hard as people make it. It is difficult. But if you're relying only on socials and your engagement is pretty low and people don't even really follow you because you're an artist, they're really your homies, text your friends, yo. Text your friends, text your fans, figure out who you DM everybody. You know what I'm saying? You got to really do some work. You can't just post the shit and be like, nobody showed up.
That is true. Payne, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, so another way to continue collecting data is by getting your music on the streaming platforms and then utilizing all of those tools. And 2Loss has a lot of those tools, and you can use it for free for 3 months. Hit up 2loss.com, use the code MEC for 3 free months of premium access. And if you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it. Your music stays up. You're not penalized for it. So we appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back on the MEC 2.0 for another episode. Same time, same place next week. Drop a comment if you have a question and you want to have us answer that question. If it's a good question or a question that we think we can help with, then that's what we'll do. So we appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.